sometimes you have an idea and the thing just pops out. That's generally a good sign.
In all these years you worked that way, or are these
Yeah.
some phases you've gone through?
I've always pretty much worked that way. Studying with Breland and Lepper, that way that I like to do artwork was understandable to them, and therefore I was reinforced by it.
Thank you.
This portrait by Jane and Hope, the tar portrait. I have a couple questions. I noticed through the years that you put trees on your canvases, or the canvases or come out of the trees. And
You mean like the wood that's nailed
yeah,
on the
that's what I
side?
mean. I see that, you know, you put trees on your work. Hi, Francis, come on in.
Yeah, I started doing that around the time I got interested in St. Francis. Hey,
St. Francis.
and so, I guess I was thinking that the classical world was disappearing, but I did two things. Either I did it framed in gold or I did it with a stick. And I tried not to have, to look at them any differently. It just seemed like this one would go better this way, this one would go better that way. That particular one has two sticks on it, and the subject matter comes from, I can't remember the medieval philosopher who thought that what was going on when the world was around the 1200s, it was coming out, the Roman Empire had declined, but there was a great thaw, and things were starting to come back together. And he opined that it was like being a dwarf on the shoulders of giants. And that's what it was like. They were looking to see what was happening.
Well, is the giant taking the dwarf, is that to the sea, or is that not the sea? The band at the top?
It could be the sea, but it's like trying to see what's coming next, because things were unfolding quickly.
There's some parallels to, as we sit here today. How about the next portrait?
That is a really crazy one about my version of the internet. So I don't, I'm skeptical of scientific innovation, or what's called innovation. I accept it because I have no choice. But I'm pretty far from embracing it without thinking about it. In the spirit of Robert Lepper, there's some inquiry going on there. And so, around the time I did that painting, it was like, I was involved in the DAX group. What's gonna happen when you have a technology that algorithmically puts the collective on top of the individual? What the hell's gonna happen? That's exactly opposite of what we got. The United States Constitution protects the individual. Now you're gonna put the group on top of that? That's what happened. And it's happening still. Deeper and deeper. And we're going down that trail. I was skeptical of it happening in 1981. I was involved in writing stuff for La Plaisir du Texte in 1983, where there was a global fairy tale that the DAX group was involved in. And everybody was yucking it up about technology, where it's going, the things that were opening up. All that stuff is true. But it also opens the door for a lot of anarchy. Stuff that ain't too good. Stuff that we call scams. Stuff like that.
Phil, could you describe what the DAX
How about
group's mission was? Could you describe what the DAX group mission was? What it was?
The Digital Art Exchange was to actually put a face on collaborative activity globally at low expense. And email it's hard to imagine now. Email was new. It was, we saw it as a hot medium. You tell somebody that you have a weak relationship with, that you require them to do something, whoa, who in the hell left you the boss? I mean, there's an instant human reaction to that. It's aggravated and intensified with people that aren't really friends, that are marginally connected. And so that's multiplied like tremendously. And so learning how to communicate that way was something that we called into question. A guy like me, Friar Phil, was, and I credit Professor Breland for letting me have that ornery disposition. The scientists in the DAX group weren't like that at all. They were interested in what they can do.
Oh, yeah.
And I admired their skills. But at the same time, we were involved in that inquiry that makes things exciting. We were in the fray, I thought.
How about the next portrait behind David?
That's kind of my offbeat religious side. The title of the painting probably says everything. Our Lord before Pilate. So you have our Lord being called in front of the Roman guy who's in charge, and he's charged with stuff. I would think it's I think the human side of our Lord, I like the term our Lord, I got that from Kenneth Clark. I like it better than Christ, I like it better than Jesus. I would think that our Lord would think like, oh boy. And that's the kind of picture but I surrounded our Lord with gold. And so that's kind of like what that picture means for me.
And next to our Lord is
one of my favorite artistic heroes, Vladimir Horowitz. I love the way he plays the piano. I love the way he raises spontaneity to unbelievable zones of accelerated touch, where he doesn't even know what's going to happen until it comes out through his body, not his brains, but directly from his heart through his fingertips. He's an incredible artist that way. Yes.
Is there a particular piece you would recommend?
The First Ballade by Frédéric Chopin. He owns it. And if you really want to see something that separates himself from most human piano players, look up the Scriabin Etude that he plays in New York City at the Carnegie Hall televised performance. It's when he gooses it, it's crazy. His big piece was probably Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto, which kind of brought him to the United States when people heard what he could do with it. Not an easy thing to play, emotionally or technically. And so people said, you have never heard anything like this. And so Vladimir put $1,000 in his sock, and he got out of Russia by the skin of his teeth. And when he got here, he met Rachmaninoff at the Steinway in New York City, and where they shook hands, they put an X in the marble floor of the Steinway where those two met. Incredible story. But I love Vladimir Horowitz. I listen to everything that he says about music, and I try to put that into application when I paint. I want contrast.
well, we might, everyone might like to go to your YouTube channel, Philip Rostek, what?
If you just Google Philip Rostek YouTube, you'll You'll
You'll
find
find-
more than you want.
You'll find 1,800 compositions
Something
from
like
him,
that.
along with visuals to watch while you're listening.
Yeah, some are better than others, but some of them are, I like. And, when I go to the internet now, on my computer, what will happen is, if one of my pieces comes up, I'll instantly go to it. And then all of a sudden, there'll be like every 10 options, there'll be another one of my pieces, whatever. So I can start to like see where my stuff comes up next to, and it's a kind of offhand self-flattery.
Well, maybe we can go from music to wearables.
You want to spin around here?
Sure.
Let me start to the left.
When I was working with the DAX group, I was also doing a lot of work with street people in New York City, in a place called the Sculpture Garden, which is 2 streets below Houston. We're talking green hair, we're talking hookers at 7 o'clock. in their
There's a
pajamas.
book that's downstairs that,
Yeah,
that, Dave, maybe you could get in the animal room
I could get
underneath
it,
the
I could
table.
get it.
Or Marcia's.
yeah, and so, where was I there? Oh, around that time,
7 o'clock hookers.
people, we knew people there that organized a trip to Sardinia, where, I would say about 50 artists from all kinds of places, Africa, Europe. I went with the DAX group, and we went to Sardinia where Marcia, there's a picture downstairs of her.
Yeah.
And she was called the tuna fish, and she did a performance with this thing that I had rolled up in our luggage, and so we did a performance together in Sardinia.
Oh, I didn't know that. So the photograph of you above,
That's right.
Marcia, that's in Sardinia.
That's in Sardinia, yeah. Gavoy. It's in the middle of Sardinia where there was a deserted monastery. And why did this happen? Well, the people in the Lower East Side of New York there was people from Sardinia. And there was a beautiful stone building in this little town, really. It's small. But they didn't know what to do with it. And they had a mayor that had to figure out something to do with it. So he figured, this gal in the Lower East Side said, I can get these artists to come here, work with indigenous materials. You can put them in that building and call it a museum, and that way the state will help you pay for it. And that's what we did. And it was a fantastic experience. I can't tell you what it was like, because everybody came on a boat from Civitavecchia, Italy, into Sardinia, and then we went up to the middle of Gavoy. There's nothing there but shepherds, sheep, and beautiful people in a little town of Gavoy. And you had to do something with what was there. So people did stuff with sticks. They did stuff by writing stuff, and some people had some materials where they did plaster stuff, did performances. They invited the townspeople to come out, and we were there for several days. And it was so great because they would have like a school bus kind of thing to pick up the artists who worked out in the hot sun all day long, having fun. They would take us to a church basement, and these ladies had dough that they rolled out right on the table, and they made this pasta and this stuff, and you just broke the bread right there, right off the table, and ate it. And it was they cooked so fantastic, and you can't believe how great. Sardinian red wine is really good. And their vegetables and stuff are really, tomatoes and lettuce and simple stuff, but it was all perfect. And it was great. You can imagine the decibel level of conversations in that room when artists in the hot sun had about 3 glasses of wine. It was pretty good.
Well, here's the book about the Lower East Side. Right?
There you go.
So, there's a couple of these that you can take a look at, and I'll leave one here on the table. How about the next outfit?
After I gave up painting that I did at Penn State, I worked with the Tails at Carnegie Mellon with Lepper and Breland, and then I graduated.
But what, so, what, you come from Penn State in the art department, and
Yeah.
to Carnegie
Yeah,
in the
or
graduate
Carnegie
program,
Mellon.
and you looked around and what?
Well, what happened was that Carnegie Mellon, God bless them, they were interested in the undergraduate department. That's where the money was, that's where the students were. They had a graduate department, but what happened was, and I got the most money of the graduate students to go there. And, but what happened was, we had studios in the basement of Margaret Morrison Building. Nobody knew we were there at all. They didn't care. I was studying with Breland and Lepper, that was fine. I was doing really good. I was walking the dean's dog, taking care of his house out at Carnegie Place. He had a fantastic house, by the way. And so I was doing real good there, but nobody knew what we were doing or why.
Well, what's the genesis of this?
Well, what I did was I got all dressed up. That made an impression. You do that every day. So I moved into my studio, and I could go in this back alleyway back up into Donner Hall where I would shower and shave in the morning. You could do that then. I had a key to the front door of Margaret Morrison Building. Somebody gave it to me. I don't even know who it was, so that I could do that. The security would go down this way, I would go down that way, down the stairs, and I would go into my studio, and that's where I was. But I would come out every day, popped out of nowhere, all dressed up, and I was influenced by
How about,
John Cage, who said theater takes place all the time. It's the job of the artist to convince people this is the case. So I thought, all right, I'll just live it and see what they make of that. And they gave me a master's degree for doing this. I have to say that they were very congenial towards
I have no ideas of what such master's
to
degrees
stuff.
myself.
Actually, the department head supported the hell out of me because I was doing something, and then you have to realize in 1971, 73, art was really in the doldrums. Richard Estes doing the drugstore window with all the reflections in it. Figure drawing was back. I mean, there wasn't anybody really at the forefront. It was falling apart. The Vietnam War, blah, blah, blah.
what about this fellow?
Well, what happened was, when I was a teenager, I started taking piano lessons, and I was down over the hill playing ball with my father when we got a phone call that there was a pianist. And the guy, Dad's business associate, they didn't want to go, they didn't know anything about it. So we said we would go. This is the Greensburg High School auditorium, who would think? So we go into this place. We were the first ones there. And there was a ribbon across the first aisle. And I said, Dad, we have to sit down on the left-hand side so we can see the keyboard. All right. And so Philippe Entremont was there. Who came in the front of us was Eddie Feinberg, who owned a shoe store, and his sister was Philippe Entremont's manager when he was in the United States. Chuck, I didn't know you liked music. Yeah, well, this is my son Phil. So anyway, Philippe Entremont plays is fantastic. I've never seen execution like that. He played with Leonard Bernstein, Eugene Normandy, all the big ones. I'd never seen execution like that, especially when he was all dressed up. It made a huge cultural impression on me. I was 16. So we were clapping like hell. He played a big concert. I remember each piece. Actually, I could recite it, but
That's okay.
what happens is you go. We were clapping, and they said, "Would you like to meet Mr. Entremont?" So I met him backstage. It made a huge impression on me, and so it was fantastic. I was like a deer in the headlights. But the manager said, "This is Phil. He plays the piano. He likes the way you play Liszt." And Philippe Entremont said, "Oh, how wonderful!" And he shook my hand, and that was it. That gave me the idea of like, what do I do at Carnegie Mellon? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look just like that.
Well, let's see. Why don't we go over to the transplant gallery?
Thank you. I'm long-winded. Thank you for your great story. Oh, very nice.
Did you go to that concert too?
Dwarfs on the shoulders of giants. As you can see.
I'm definitely gonna be yours this next week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try to do that.
I'd like to.
Come on, we're going to wrap it up.
That's what I'm gonna do. If I can't make it to both, I'll try to.
Yeah, you're right. Go ahead, I've seen all. Yeah.
Come on in, Francis. Come on, Meg.
I would have been with Larry in '73.
Before that, when the building was still there.
Yeah.
Because there was release in the building and Trump said he would get out when he was.
Okay, we'll go start.
Yeah, Vaughn with Teller, yeah, those are beautiful.
Okay, let's start.
Yes.
In the cases, or John A. Herman's, he picks these up in he has a museum here that we're in, and these are things he picked up in his travels, and there are 1,000 paintings that he gave the city of Bellevue, in that room, up there, down, they're everywhere, but this is the only thing that's there. So Phil did not do the bronzes or the ivories. But back in 2008, is that a place to start?
Sure. I had a heart transplant in 2008, so I'm a very lucky guy, and I'm still here. And so my doctors were really fantastic. I was afraid to have a heart transplant, even though that Marcia, who worked at the university, she worked at the Frick Fine Art building, part of the university. I had pretty good insurance. And so the doctors were like thinking, you have a good deal here, and it's like, now you're preferring to die. It's like, you're gonna die. And so there was a time when my main cardiologist came in, Dr. Michael Mathieu, gave one of the greatest speeches that you've ever heard, saying, Phil, your heart is a bum heart, you're gonna die. We do this every day. I can make you better. no talk about complications, none of that. And he was sitting like that with a can of, he came in with a can of Coke. He had like just regular clothes on, with a lab coat, and he was absolutely limp, like saying, I don't know, his body language is like saying, this is no problem for us. This is no problem. And it was that display of outrageous confidence that was like, you know, it's a teaching hospital. And I've noticed over the years, Dr. Mathia will be walking down the hall. There'll be 10 people behind him, like writing down everything that he says. Very quiet man, but somehow he has an authority about him. He's a remarkable doctor, remarkable individual. And so that's kind of like how I got the transplant.
Well, I'm not sure about this back in the 70s.
This is photographed by my wife, Marcia. And so this is like me wearing the tails at Carnegie Mellon, coming up with metaphor kind of ideas. And so I did this piece called Art Attack. So that's Marcia's lipstick there with me imagining a heart attack, which actually occurred in 2008 when I looked like that after they sewed me up. Weird kind of prediction in a certain way that came out true. But, you know, I just didn't wear the tails. I did things like we went to the West End Bridge, and I poured milk in with the tails and the suckling of the Ohio with Wagner music, like, stuff like that. It was crazy, but my teacher, Bruce Breland, was very interesting. The Museum of Modern Air, we were seeing that art and institutional relationship with the artist was starting to be horizontal. And I think that's kind of what we saw. But anyway, getting back, we did pieces like that, and that came to be weirdly true. The Crow is like somewhere between a scary bird that comes up and you're kind of like, you know, you're sick. And the little angel that's flying away, somehow I got away with one, because after all this time with somebody else's heart beating in me, I'm here with you today. It's nuts. The way that works is you can write to the donor's family, but it goes through the hospital. And so some people prefer to know who you are and whatever, and some people don't want that experience at all. It's up to them. I wrote a very, you know, they tell you to write a very discreet kind of letter. I did that, but I did not get a response. I just know from the surgeon I got a young, strong heart.
Well,
Crazy.
I read how, I haven't seen them this year, but there are 20,000 crows in Oakland, and they really like a round pig.
Yeah, those intellectuals at the cathedral summoned them.
Yeah.
Autobiographically, my brother and I used to read and recite things like the witches in Macbeth, and so we knew I don't know, I can recite right now, once upon a midnight dreary, what we pondered weak and weary over many quaint curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping. Suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more. Distinctly I remember. It was in the bleak December in these separate dying ever, but it's because anyway. The Raven brings me back to my work, so we can make this very, very precise. It's all autobiographic.
Well, Phil, thank you so
It's
much,
all-
and
it's
and
all
thank you
like-
everyone for the attention. It has been our distinct pleasure being in your presence and to gain knowledge. And now what we're going to do, we're going to go out in the world, use all that knowledge and, we'll see.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Nice.